The lunar phase or phase of the Moon is the shape of the illuminated portion of the Moon as seen by an observer, usually on Earth. The lunar phases change cyclically as the Moon orbits the Earth, according to the changing relative positions of the Earth, Moon, and Sun. The Moon and the Earth are tidally locked, and therefore the same lunar surface always faces Earth. This face is variously sunlit depending on the position of the Moon in its orbit. Therefore, the portion of this hemisphere that is visible to an observer on Earth can vary from about 100% to 0%. The lunar terminator is the boundary between the illuminated and darkened hemispheres. Aside from some craters near the lunar poles such as Shoemaker, all parts of the Moon see around 14.77 days of sunlight followed by 14.77 days of night. The four principal lunar phases are first quarter, full moon, third quarter, and new moon. Each of the four lunar phases is roughly 7 days each, but varies slightly due to lunar apogee and perigee. These are the instants when, respectively, the Moon's apparent geocentric celestial longitude minus the Sun's apparent geocentric celestial longitude is 0 a degree, 90 a degree, 180 a degree and 270 a degree. In Western culture, the phases of the Moon have been given the following names, in sequential order. When the Sun and Moon are aligned on the same side of the Earth, the Moon is new, and the side of the Moon visible from Earth is not illuminated by the Sun. As the Moon waxes, the lunar phases progress from new moon, crescent moon, first quarter moon, gibbous moon and full moon phases, before returning through the gibbous moon, third quarter moon, crescent moon and new moon phases. The terms old moon and new moon are interchangeable, although new moon is more common. Half moon is often used to mean the first and third quarter moons, while the term quarter refers to the extent of the Moon's cycle around the Earth, not its shape. When a sphere is illuminated on one hemisphere and viewed from a different angle, the portion of the illuminated area that is visible will have a two-dimensional shape defined by the intersection of an ellipse and circle. If the half-ellipse is convex with respect to the half-circle, then the shape will be gibbous hump plus angstrom sus, whereas if the half-ellipse is concave with respect to the half-circle, then the shape will be a crescent. When a crescent moon occurs, the phenomenon of earthshine may be apparent, where the night side of the Moon faintly reflects light from the Earth. In the northern hemisphere, if the left side of the Moon is dark then the light part is growing, and the Moon is referred to as waxing. If the right side of the Moon is dark then the light part is shrinking, and the Moon is referred to as waning. Assuming that the viewer is in the northern hemisphere, the right portion of the Moon is the part that is always growing. In the southern hemisphere the Moon is observed from a perspective inverted to that of the northern hemisphere, so the opposite sides appear to grow and shrink. Non-Western cultures may use a different number of moon phases, for example traditional Hawaiian culture has a total of 30 different moon phases. The calendar. The average calendrical month, which is 1/12 of a year, is about 30.44 days, while the Moon's phase cycle repeats on average every 29.53 days. Therefore the timing of the Moon's phases shifts by an average of almost 1 day for each successive month. Photographing the Moon's phase every day for a month, starting in the evening after sunset, and repeating approximately 25 minutes later each successive day, ending in the morning before sunrise, would create a composite image like the example calendar from May 8, 2005, to June 6, 2005. There is no picture on May 20 since a picture would be taken before midnight on May 19, and after midnight on May 21. Similarly, on a calendar listing moonrise or set times, some days will appear to be skipped. When the moon rises just before midnight one night it will rise just after midnight the next. The skip day is just a calendar artifact and not the moon behaving strangely. The Moon has a predictable orbit every month. Calculating phase, each of the four lunar phases is roughly 7 days each, but varies slightly due to lunar apogee and perigee. The approximate age of the Moon, and hence the approximate phase, can be calculated for any date by calculating the number of days since a known new moon and reducing this modulo 29.530588853. The difference between two dates can be calculated by subtracting the Julian day number of one from that of the other. or there are simpler formulae giving the number of days since December 31, 1899. However, this calculation assumes a perfectly circular orbit and therefore may be incorrect by several hours. It is accurate enough to use in a novelty clock application showing moon phase, but specialist usage taking account of lunar apogee and perigee requires a more elaborate calculation. Effective parallax: the Earth subtends an angle of about 2 degrees, when seen from the Moon. This means that an observer on Earth who sees the Moon when it is close to the eastern horizon sees it from an angle that is about 2 degrees different from the line of sight of an observer who sees the Moon on the western horizon. The Moon moves about 12 degrees around its orbit per day, so, if these observers were stationary, they would see the phases of the Moon at times that differ by about 1/6 of a day, or 4 hours. But in reality the observers are on the surface of the rotating Earth, so someone who sees the Moon on the eastern horizon at one moment sees it on the western horizon about 12 hours later. This adds an oscillation to the apparent progression of the lunar phases. They appear to occur more slowly when the Moon is high in the sky than when it is below the horizon. The Moon appears to move jerkily, and the phases do the same. The amplitude of this oscillation is never more than about 4 hours, which is a small fraction of a month. It does not have any obvious effect on the appearance of the Moon. However, it does affect accurate calculations of the times of lunar phases. Misconceptions: it might be expected that once every month, when the Moon passes between Earth and the Sun during a new moon, its shadow would fall on Earth causing a solar eclipse, but this does not happen every month. Nor is it true that during every full moon, the Earth's shadow falls on the Moon, causing a lunar eclipse. Solar and lunar eclipses are not observed every month because the plane of the Moon's orbit around the Earth is tilted by about 5 degrees with respect to the plane of Earth's orbit around the Sun. Thus, when new and full moons occur, the Moon usually lies to the north or south of a direct line through the Earth and Sun. Although an eclipse can only occur when the Moon is either new or full, it must also be positioned very near the intersection of Earth's orbit plane about the Sun and the Moon's orbit plane about the Earth. This happens about twice per year, and so there are between 4 and 7 eclipses in a calendar year. Most of these events are quite insignificant. Major eclipses of the Moon or Sun are less frequent. See also: blue moon, lunar effect, lunation, observing the Moon, planetary phase, planet shine, 7-day week, tides. References. External links: General 6 Millennium Catalogue of Phases of the Moon hosted by NASA, Virtual Reality Moon Phase, U.S. Naval Service on Moon Phase / What the Moon Looks Like Today, Full Moon Names, Telescopic Moon Photos Through the Phases by Michael Myers, Current Moon Phase, The Length of the Lunar Cycle, Moon Phases, Lunar Phase Calculator for years 1600 to 2200, Educational Aids, Lunar Phase Simulator, Starchild, Moonlight Madness Lunar Phases Game, Names and Images of the 8 Moon Phases, Kia 3rd Grade Solve 3.8 Put the Moon's phases in the correct order game, Astrophysics Science Project Integrating Research and Education, Lunar Phases Quiz, Lunar Phase Image Sets in High Resolution at 1 degree intervals, Views of the Moon from 4 sides at any relative phase, Front East-West Lunar Phase Explorers.